I warmly welcome you all to the inaugural session of the first online lecture series of the Research and Development Cell, RDC, Netaji Subhash Open University. The RDC at NSOU has been envisioned as a dynamic academic platform to foster research dialogue, promote global collaborations, and stimulate a culture of critical inquiry. This lecture series is a grand step, rather a giant step, towards realizing that vision, where knowledge is shared across disciplines, continents, and communities. It is now time for the highlight of the evening, and we are deeply honored to have with us Professor Kausik Dash, Professor of Physics at the University of Maryland, USA. Professor Dash is internationally renowned for his work in the field of quantum physics and has contributed immensely to the science, diplomacy, and policy advocacy. His lecture for the evening is titled as a 21st Century Landscape of Science and Technology, India's Opportunities and Challenges. In a world shaped by disruptive innovation, artificial intelligence, and climate change, this theme could not be more timely. I'll give a very brief bio note of Professor Kausik Dash, though we know that he's very popular in the academia. But since it's a protocol, we shall give a very brief one. Professor Dash had been a distinguished physicist and the current director of the Sun Center for Student Excellence at the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, UMES, USA. A fellow of the American Physical Society, elected through its prestigious forum on Physics and Society, Dr. Dash is internationally recognized for his pioneering work at the confluence of advanced physical sciences, inclusive STEM education, and a broader societal application of scientific knowledge. He obtained his doctoral degree from the Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science, Kolkata, a premier research institution in India. Over the years, Dr. Dash has made remarkable contributions in the diverse and frontier areas of physics, including fluid dynamics, nanotechnology, zero-gravity physics, sustainability science, and physics educational research. Notably, his work is characterized by an enduring commitment to mentoring undergraduate researchers and applying scientific insights to address real-world societal challenges. In recognition of his leadership and outreach, Dr. Dash was appointed by the Governor of Maryland to the Commission on South Asian American Affairs, where he continues to contribute to educational policy and community management across the state. Further attesting to the national relevance of his work, he was invited to the White House to participate in a national summit on fusion, technology, and distinction that reflects his prominent role in plasma research and in advancing the intersection of science, innovation, and public policy. His academic journey has included distinguished appointments such as a lecturership at the University of Toronto and a fellowship at the Kavli Institute of the Theoretical Research, KITP, one of the world's most renowned centers for theoretical physics research. Professor Dash embodies a vision of science as both a rigorous intellectual pursuit and a transformative force for the public. His career reflects a deep dedication to scientific self-efficacy, equity in education, and the expansion of high-impact research opportunities to undeserved communities. Through his scholarly mentorship and civic engagement, he continues to inspire the next generation of scientists and policy makers alike. It is our privilege to have Professor Dash with us. So, sir, the virtual stage is yours now. Over to Professor Dash.
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. It's an honor. It's a privilege for me to give a talk in this very distinguished forum. And thank you for saying all these finest chosen and kind words. I'm not worthy of that phrase, but I'll try my best. Biggest advantage I have is I grew up in India, and in Bengali medium school I studied, and I finished my PhD from Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science. And then I came outside of India. I came to California first and then went to UK. I had a collaborative project between Glasgow and Oxford, then moved to Canada, and then came to the US. So the biggest advantage I have is that I could see the academic scenarios, academic environment in all these different parts of the world, and I can compare and I can judge like where are our advantages, where are our disadvantages. So that I feel that this is sort of I have some unique, I'd say, perspective that many people may not have. Some people are they go to the US for their bachelor's and they do their PhD and come back. And some people are who are studying in Western environment. They have only the Western perspective. Who are studying in the Indian academics, they have the Indian perspective. But as I have traveled a lot, I got that advantage that I could see inside out how the education system works in different parts of the world. Let us start with that why this moment matters, why even this discussion is important. So to start with, let us few comments about where we are now globally. What are our crises and what are the grand challenges we are facing as a global citizen? Knowledge, why knowledge is so important at this moment. And we all know now almost everyone uses some form of AI. Like ChatGPT or something, or Grok or Google. So it may seem that this is the latest craze, but sometimes the technology, it changes the way we work. Imagine 20 years back or 25 years back when there was no Google. Now we cannot live without Google. And we may think that these technologies are too advanced technologies, we will not be affected by that, or whether or we may not have any connection with that. But still, 30 years back, we couldn't even imagine Google Maps or Uber or Ola in Calcutta. This is like, even if it is transitioning, it will impact us, and we have to be prepared for that impact. How our education system, how our work, how our society, how our governance will be impacted by these recent changes. Now, global crisis, these are even more important. These are existential threats to us. Climate change, we can feel the heat, literally. There are pandemics, and we have all gone through that scary pandemic a few years back, and scientists are not very optimistic about the future. There may be, or probably there will be more pandemics in the future also, like that, because climate change is happening, global warming is happening, and the bacteria and the other microorganisms which were deep inside the ice core, they're getting back to life, and we don't know what type of pathogens they are, how they will impact the society, but we have to take these challenges head on. Water crisis, the groundwater level are decreasing. It will impact the agriculture. So one thing we need to first understand, that the land we have in the world is fixed, is constant. It's just the surface area of the world, right? We cannot change we cannot increase that land, the surface area of that land. It's fixed. But the consumers, the food consumers, to be precise, the population is increasing. So there is this big challenge, how to feed this enormous population, which is increasing in numbers day by day. while the agricultural land is constant. So it's a huge challenge, and we have to think about it, and the scientists have to think about it, and everyone should think about it very seriously, how we can deal with that enormous number of population increase, the growth rate, with the constant land that we have. And not only the land we have, it's not constant, it's even decreasing because of the water level rise and climate change. There is more famine, there is more drought. And so we need to tackle these problems. We have to. And here comes the knowledge, the why knowledge is the new capital. This is the innovation sector, that if we can innovate, if we can find out new solutions, if we can show the way that this can increase the yield of, say, of production, say agricultural production, or some new kind of food, or the source of water, new source of water, drinking water. And I don't have to tell this because we all face it. We all face the wrath of climate change. We all face the pollution. We all face this crisis. Another important area is the gap between science and society is widening. It is very scary, very concerning that when we lose the touch with the society, then society starts to mistrust the scientists, and then we lose everything. So society has to be the support system, or I would say this is the feedback loop where society sustains a symbiotic relationship between a society and science community, where society supports science and science supports society. Otherwise, there would be a term that was coined some time back, like in the medieval century. It's called town and gown conflict. It came from the medieval Oxford University conflict, where there was a big riot between the academicians in Oxford and the local town population. And there were these riot. Because of this riot, many of the Oxford academicians fled Oxford and formed another university, which was not very famous at that time. But after that, one of the most prominent scientists in the world ever lived, Newton, came to that place, and he made that place famous. So that's how Cambridge was formed. So now if we go into the deeper root of this mistrust between science and society, there are many things. One is, obviously, there are some framework in science which society may not believe, like scientific methods of determining what is truth, what is not truth. And society, most of the time, they rely on personal experiences. Like, if I give an example, oh, this thing works for my family and my brother, and the scientists are saying that this will not work. So how can it be true? So there is this gap between scientific methodology and personal belief system, and both the science and society has to come together. And there is a very important role scientists or scientific minded people need to do or need to take, which is to do outreach. It's extremely important that you regularly meet the society. Basically, we have to think in terms of, in this way, that society is giving us the funding, giving us the money. It's the taxpayers' money. And we cannot just keep them out of the loop, what we are doing. It's not personal pleasure. There is a societal outcome, a societal impact also of whatever we do. And we need to inform, we need to bring those stakeholders in the loop, that that what we are doing, why we are doing it, how we are doing it. So there has to be a continuous outreach between the science or scientific community and society at large. Otherwise there will be a breakdown of that trust, and that gives rise to misinformation, that gives rise to a conflict, that so-called town and gown conflict. Now, emerging economies have a window of opportunity here. So this is, I have described the scenarios that we are facing now, this moment, and I would delve into some of the points, like how countries like India can leapfrog through this strategic investment in STEM, or how we can deal with all these things that we have just described. So this is sort of the framework of the presentation that I'm going to do today. So we know that this is what we have already talked about, that AI, robotics, big data, they're reshaping the work, society, governance. It's like when computers came to India, we were worried that it will take away our jobs. But it actually didn't take away the jobs, but it restructured the job market. So similarly, we have to deal with these new things that what the Western society is, or Western scientific world is going through at this moment, the advancement of artificial intelligence in everything, robotics in almost everything, big data, starting from medicine discovery to other areas, to finances, to everywhere. So these are the pictures I am showing here are the robot taxis. They're recently launched in California and other places. So these are completely driverless cars, and these are reality now, and in next 10 to 20 years time, these will be the reality, or like a common thing on the road. And just like, as I said before, that we didn't believe 30 years back from now that in Calcutta we have this Uber and Ola service, and we can just input the address, and the driver will take us there, because even the map was not there. We had to rely on the local knowledge of the local taxi drivers, mainly Sardarjis at that time. They knew the nook and corner of the city. So if we have to go somewhere, if we had to go somewhere at that time, we'd just say the address and give some like local landmarks to them, and then they will take us there. But now it's a reality that the whole city has been mapped. Now we have this app and everything. So this will be also probably a reality in the next decade, in the coming decade. Automation is robotics is happening. It's everywhere, and the more advanced countries we go to, they are more automated. And this is where I would like to bring one important thing, that the use of tools. If we look at the civilization, we started with the like local tools in the, say, the stones. With stones, we as human beings, the whole population evolved. We started with stone made things like a spear or something to protect ourselves, or to hunt. Then, like, gradually we came to Bronze Age. We learned how to use the metals, and then Iron Age, and so the wheel was invented, and it went on and on. So gradually we learned that the better we are using tools, we'd call ourselves that advanced or that intelligent. So using the tools, learning how to use the tools, is a measure of where you are in the society. And I'll come into that in that. So where we are in the society, how we use the tools. Are we using modern tools very well, like China, like other advanced nations in the world, or not? We have to ask these questions, and how we can integrate that in the academics, in the education system, where we can create a pipeline so that the students come out of this education system learning the basic things to survive, to innovate, and to create the workforce. So these are very important topics. So we'll talk about that. Now, global crisis, we know everywhere, even in India, that the water crisis. Bengaluru has water shortage. Rajasthan has water shortage. We feel it. We know it. But what are we doing? Are there a real policy decision that this is a priority of our scientists? Should we only do the theoretical research for our sort of own pleasure? There is no harm in doing theoretical research. Their knowledge research has to be twofold. One is knowledge for knowledge sake, and another one is knowledge for societal benefit. But there has to be a balance. And unfortunately, in India, I have to say that this balance is not yet there. It's we are heavily theory dependent research country. We do research on pen and paper, but we don't look into the societal impact of our research that much. Things are changing gradually, but at a very slow rate. It has to much faster rate, and more people should go into solving the local problems, like where our citizens are facing, like agricultural problem, like this water crisis, this climate change. So India is on three sides of India is surrounded by water. It's ocean, and now we are facing water crisis, drinking water crisis. So where is that priority that we need to find an innovative, inexpensive solution to generate drinking water from the ocean water, which is readily available, almost infinite amount. And the groundwater we are depleting, even in West Bengal and in Bangladesh, it's now taking the bringing out all these heavy metals, arsenic and other things. And there is a huge amount of arsenic poisoning in the rural Bengal. So this is I would urge the scientists to in India to focus more on these local problems which will impact the society directly. Can we find a solution of that? Can we remove arsenic inexpensive way? This is an important thing. It's like inexpensive technique and innovation which can benefit the society. So that's what I'm focusing here. So how can we build that system of inquiry-based, curiosity-driven research ecosystem that looks into the local problems and try to give the local solution? This is where the knowledge can be the new capital. It doesn't have to, capital doesn't have to be money only. This is where the knowledge, know-how, how to do that is the capital. If we can get that know-how, if we can find the know-how, then we can solve the problem, and that will save us humongous amount of money and lives, right? And the betterment of society. So this is why knowledge is the new capital. The gap between science and society is widening, and I had talked about that. This is not only one part of the world, it's everywhere. We are facing it every day, and you know that. And like there are some misinformation, and it can be dealt only through meaningful dialogue between science and society, scientific community and society, and bringing the scientific the greater society in the loop. It's extremely important. Now let us talk about the opportunities that we have, that what opportunity India has at this moment and how we can benefit from those opportunities. So let us look into these opportunities. These are very important points that United Nations projects that India will overtake China in terms of population this year, and the gap will get even larger after that. So it's 20 by 2040, India's population will be around 1.6 billion. So there is a mistake there. So it's 160 crore of people. Right now, I think it's close to 150 crore, 146 to be precise, around that range. But it's increasing. So as I said before, the feeding mouth, the number is increasing, and the agricultural land is decreasing. So that's the dark side. But what is the light? What is the brighter side? Brighter side is in top 10 economies in the world. So as Dr. Ghosh has already mentioned, it's now fourth largest. So it has already surpassed Japan. So it is now fourth largest economy in the world with 4.3 trillion. In front of us in front of India is US, China, and Germany only. And in no time, India will surpass Germany. This is almost for certain, with the growth rate and everything. Another very, very important area is that India has the largest young population in the world. China's economy is greater than India, but China has the problem of aging population, and India has the advantage of having the young population, young and energetic population in this world. The most number of young people are in India, and it has got that as per United Nations, the youth population in India stands at 1.8 billion. That's, I guess, the projected. And out of the total youth in the world, 1/5 is in India. 366 million is young generation live in India. 366 million. That means 36.6 crore people. And this is a huge, huge asset of India. This is a huge asset. I cannot stress on this, that it is not huge asset, it's potentially huge asset. If we can bring out the core energy and use these 36.6 crore young energetic Indians and make them or train them in frontline workforce and help them to support them so that they can innovate, then India could truly be a knowledge-driven economy in recent times, in a few decades. But for that, there are challenges. There are obvious challenges. This is huge potential asset. We have to understand that we have that. And these 366 million young people, they're very unlike other countries. These people, these young kids, this young population is very I would say argumentative, which is in a good sense. And they are knowledgeable. They have their innate ability to dissect things and analyze. So that is there. This is already there. These are qualities are there. But are we cultivating or nurturing these young minds through our education system properly? That's the question, right? So the challenge is the youth are faced with many challenges, and one of the most serious issue is growing number of idle youth that is not in employment, education, and training, NEET, not in employment, education, and training. That is the largest potential disaster. The previous line is the largest potential benefit, and the next line in red is the largest potential disaster if we can't nurture these minds properly. So this is where we are. Now, India's strength and opportunities, as Dr. Ghosh has already mentioned, that we have world-class education institutions like IITs, the Indian Institute of Science, ISRO, which is one of my most, I have no praise, not enough praise for this organization, ISRO, because they started from the ground level and they built this whole enormously capable and enormously innovative organization in a few decades. It started with APJ Abdul Kalam's and his predecessors' time, but many of us have seen the picture of the first rockets Dr. Kalam was trying, and he was carrying those rocket parts behind his bicycle, right? So, and from there now, India has a formidable space program and space force, and India does it in a fraction of a price in comparison to any other world, any other countries in the world. So this is our strength, but and then ISERs and others, but the problem of the education system we are facing is the great colonial hangover. And why am I saying that? I'm saying that because for decades these IITs and ISERs and others are working, and these IITs are recruiting some of the top talents of India. But where are the innovations coming out of that? And if you look at the last 40 years of innovations, how the world has changed, starting from say these giant computers, card-based computers, to small the iPhones or the other small phones in our palm, which has got the ability and power of so-called supercomputer at that time. We have these revolution in internet. We have the revolution in like many other innovations in healthcare. We have a revolution in agriculture. We have revolution in the big data analysis. Where is India's contribution in there? By contribution, I'm not talking about like manufacturing only. Where are the products that are coming out of India, and those products are shaping the world or bringing billions of dollars to the country? The great colonial hangover. So what do I mean by great colonial hangover? Now, if we look at our education system from the school level, very minutely, with an analytical mind, we will find that there are three major components in that education system. One is rote memorization, that we have to memorize a lot of information, starting from a general knowledge book to history to even science also. Calculation, mathematics is a priority. Obviously, everybody has to be good in mathematics, otherwise we are good for nothing, according to our parents. And we need to be very good in following instructions, like what the teacher said, follow it. Don't ask questions. So at very few places we are encouraged to ask questions. That in Bengali, অত প্রশ্ন না করে যা বলা হচ্ছে তাই করো, right? So this is a very common thing. We almost all of us have gone through this process. But why the great colonial educationalist education thinkers have implemented this type of education system in India, and not only in India, in any colonies? And as I said, I have been to these places. I have worked in UK for 3 years. So I have seen their education system. It's not this. I can tell you that they in UK, in England, the education system they follow is not the education system we follow. Even if we call in India, we call it British education system, it's not British. Trust me. It's a colonial education system. And if you try to understand the goal of the colonial education system, the goal was to make good clerks who can calculate taxes. That's why calculation mathematics was important. Who can memorize the instructions, memorize and follow instruction. And their goal was not to create free thinkers or leaders, right? Or innovators. Because that would be, if they create thinkers or innovators or leaders in education, then that would be a threat to the Raj, British Raj. So that was very deliberate, very well thought out education system that was implemented in colonies like India. And unfortunately, we are still most of the parts, mostly we are still following that education system, and this must go. This is not the way you can be a knowledge driven innovative country. There is no way, because if a student from the school level doesn't get the support of free thinking, doesn't get the support of for their leadership, doesn't get support for the curiosity driven knowledge, then how can you expect that only the higher education institutes, just by making some changes, it will create these free thinkers immediately after, for all these years, from grade 1 to grade 12, or even the college level, even the university level? They are not getting supported of their innovation or innovative mind. So this is not possible. So we need a complete overhaul of the education system. And here I will come, like, what the West does to put them in that innovation map, innovation ecosystem. So in the West, what I have seen, and not only in the West and Western countries and other knowledge-driven economies, the other countries like Japan, like South Korea, like Singapore, like China. So it's not just West. In the East also, some of the countries, they have even lesser resources. They had lesser resources, lesser advantages, but they did it. They made it. Now Japan is one of the most advanced countries. South Korea is the leader of technology in many areas. Taiwan is the leader of semiconductor industry. Singapore is a very advanced country. So now let us understand what are the critical roles in the education system that the critical component of their education system we can find very interesting, or we can try to implement in India's education system also. So their education system is critical thinking based. It's not rote memorization. It's not just calculation on paper. It's hands-on learning. That means you, as I mentioned before, that learning the tools, how to use the tools. If I ask you a question, all these audiences, how many of you have used a saw, korat? কাটার করাত কজন ইউজ করেছেন? How many of you have used it? I will find barely any, or if I will not be surprised if none of you has used a saw, right? Or if I use a modern tool like a drill machine to drill a hole in the wall, or an electronic screwdriver, almost none. But if you now what is the points the parents would make, that oh, if I give my kid a saw, they may cut their fingers or they may get hurt. Really? So you teach your daughter how to cut vegetables using a moti in Bengali society, and they become very good at that, and they use it all the time with utmost precision. But the boys, they cannot even use a saw. So look at this. Like, we have a very I would say tremendous apathy, tremendous disconnect with hands-on activities. And when I think about it deeply, maybe there is a societal structure playing the back of our mind. It's deciding what is like good work, what is derogatory work. Maybe the root is there in the caste system. Apparently, that if we make our hands dirty, then or use our hands, then that's not not an intellectual type work. If we use our head and brain only, then only it's an intellectual work which society will give us credit for, or which society will appreciate. And this is what is happening. We have this problem. We had this lack of hands-on training in our education system. We don't have that. We fail to celebrate and appreciate small successes, right? We want only big jobs, big money-making jobs. That's it. But small successes needs to be celebrated. It to recognize moral, to recognize performance, to retain students, and most of all, build self-efficacy. Self-efficacy in innovation, the research shows, data shows that self-efficacy is an important part, if not one of the most important parts in the innovative ecosystem. If you don't trust yourself that you can make a groundbreaking change, or you can make an impactful something that is impactful, you will never be able to build something from scratch, right? You have to have that self belief and self-trust, and we cannot cultivate that self-trust in one day. It's a process. It's a systematic process. From the primary school level, you have to build it up to all the way up to the university level. I will come into that. Outreach and bringing community in the loop is another important area that I have already talked about, that why this disconnect between society and scientific community must be amended. So critical thinking, by doing critical thinking based education, what do we mean by critical thinking based education? The critical thinking based education is a form of education which helps to improve decision making. So you are not instructing the students what to do, rather you are giving the student the choices to find a solution, right? So there are multiple solutions of each problem. Don't give them like one unified way, that oh, this is the way you solve it and now solve it. Just like in high school, we from physics point of view, we learn Newton's laws, and then okay, so solve this problem in this way, and then you just learn that equation, put your numbers in, voila, you are done, you have got good grade. Not that. It's the complete analysis, relentless analysis of the situation and finding your solution. create a scenario and ask the students to solve it in their way. And there could be multiple failures. There could be multiple ways to reach the end goal, but it will bring out their creativity and decision making. It won't be easy because our students are not used to this type of process. For that, another important area is teachers training, which we lag a lot. Teachers training, whenever we want to implement something new education system, the equal and priority should be there of meaningful teachers training. If the teachers are not trained to implement a new education system, it's bound to fail. However good or like however important your goal is, it's bound to fail, because the teachers are the people who will implement these priorities, these goals. It enhances the critical thinking, enhances the problem solving ability, it refines your research skill, it polishes your creativity, it stimulates your curiosity. Go from lab to nature everywhere. And if your mind is curious, you can find, you can see how nature is solving a problem, and then bring that to your research. So this is called this is a sort of new field which is called biomimicry. How we can manufacture things sustainably the way nature does. Nature solves huge problems like carbon sequestration. This is the most important problem. The carbon dioxide, a plant can absorb carbon dioxide and turn it into food. So if we can do it in an innovative way, if we can mass produce something which can synthetically absorb carbon dioxide and transform into another more sustainable form, that will solve the problem. How can we like a beetle in Namib desert, they actually they get the water from the fog. They accumulate water from the fog on their back and they drink that water. So they harvest water from air. So in desert areas, can we harvest that water from air in Rajasthan? That would make the land fertile if we can harvest that fog water droplets into water and store it and use it for agricultural and drinking for drinking purpose. So it can change the whole land, whole scenario. How can we desalinate water? Fish in oceans, in salty water, they are in salty water, but their blood is like a sweet blood. There's no salt in there. So how they desalinate all the time in a very energy inexpensive way? Can we learn from the nature? Can we bring it to the manufacturing? Can we make the world sustainable? So it's a whole curiosity driven learning. Here I'm showing some of the snapshots, like how the kids here learn from the workshop based things. See, these girls, they are using tools like the saw and other a lathe machine, other things, and they are learning from the beginning how to use tools. So tools, everybody will not be a researcher after coming out of the school, but they can be an innovator. That's the whole point. To be an innovator, you may not have to be a researcher, a formal researcher. You may not have to get a PhD or master's degree. You can still innovate, and you can still create a $1 billion business, and you can still sell your product to the whole world, right? So create those, or you can be a frontline researchers and give them the opportunity for leadership. See, this is a school in Japan. They serve their own food, they clean their own utensils, and this is part of their curriculum. So these are the differences as I see in school system. It's hands-on, it's curiosity-driven, it's project-based, and it's holistic. It's the development of the whole as a whole. It's not as a whole human being. And India has the advantage of that. We are believer in holistic development from the philosophical point of view. So why can't we implement that? It won't be that difficult. Critical thinking in undergraduate courses. These are the cartoon clicker questions I developed with one of our famous cartoonists and National Science Foundation and American Physical Society. They were very supportive of that. So how can we integrate this critical thinking in your curriculum? So I use these cartoon clicker questions, and now many other universities and other parts of the world uses these cartoon clicker questions. This is a question from Newton's laws in physics class. A person is just dropping a ball, and the same person is throwing the ball downward. And the question asked is which ball in these two cases will have greater acceleration? This is a critical thinking question, and it enhances all these. It actually stimulates all the brain cells. It makes the students think there is no numerical problem here. This is we know Newton's laws, which is this law actually depicts the nature. It tells us how the nature works, and now we are applying those principles and to solve this problem. This is a critical thinking question, right? So the answer is, and trust me, many of the students physics students who are formally trained in physics in schools and colleges, even at the universities, fail to answer this question because our education system never tries to ask these type of critical thinking question. So the answer is both the ball's acceleration will be the same, and that comes from Newton's laws, Newton's second law. That's a different discussion. We can do that afterwards. So these are other critical thinking questions that I developed in the US, and I picked up this question because you see, I created with the help of the cartoonist several characters. One of the characters is Sita, who is wearing a sari, and so women are not excluded in my critical thinking questions. People of color are also there. So another question is, a car starting from rest comes down to these ramps. There is no friction. Whose velocity or speed would be the highest in all these questions? So these are curiosity arousing. These are critical thinking questions. You have to think. You have to think critically. You have to implement. You have to use those principles and come out with that idea. And then I ask the students that discuss it. Feel free to discuss it with your peers, with your fellow students. This is how they learn in a group, and the vibrant classroom environment we create in our education system. Okay, so the next part, I'd say the real world problem solving. So real world problem solving, and this is in our curriculum also. We not curriculum, we created programs like this from math struggles. So we most of the students in the United States and in the West, they struggle in math. So this is one of the capstone projects. These are undergraduate, low performing students who came from underserved communities, and they're weak in math. So this program, what it does is they learn some of the basic math techniques, and the capstone project is you have to solve a real life problem. Like say in a high school type problem would be that you brought two gallons, two cans of paints of different concentration. Now you have to mix it in a proper manner so that the outcome would be of this specified concentration. So you know the concentrations of each of the paints, and you have to mix it, and you have to make this particular concentration. What would be the shares of the, and how much volume of this paint, how much volume of that paint you need to mix. You give them the actual paint. This is not pen and paper. They would measure the concentration. They would measure the concentration of the other paint, and they would mix it, and they will test whether it is giving it the right concentration or not. So this is one of the. I'm Dr. Das. I'm the director of the SANS Center for Student Excellence. Yes. Learning is one thing. Learning is very important to absorb some ideas. But the other thing is equally, if not more important, that is how to present your work.
Red line is solid because that goes for X. All the fractions into decrease.
X should give you 20 meters. You're going to put a line through it and you're going to hit 2 points.
Now we have 2 groups that we can do.
Because you have to communicate in real world. Don't feel shy to celebrate your small achievements also, however small it is. Success, once defined as ability to move from one failure to another failure without losing any enthusiasm.
And every single time I feel like it's prepared me better for the test.
I don't think I've ever gone through a course where I felt this confident about going into an exam the day before.
Always think about your past achievement. This is very important. So just keep going. Keep pushing yourself. That increases the self-efficacy of the students, that introduces them the real world problem, capstone projects. Then we introduce research early on in the undergrad level, real small modular research. And these students, and many of them are first generation college goers. I take many of the first generation college going students, and they make real big contribution to the research field. And this on the left, this guy, Habilu, he's a first generation college goer. Now he finished his PhD and went to one of the national labs, which is a very prestigious position. He is there. These 2 guys in the middle, Nathan and Justin, both of them went to NASA. The third picture, Wen is the professor now, and Madi is a professional. And this is like another student, Ayobami. He went to an Ivy League school for his PhD. Now he's in a multinational company. So it shows that if you implement these things in your curriculum, in your process, as a system, it will give you a steady pipeline. It will do that. And this is why I take many of the students who are coming from the first generation college course and economically underserved. I call them diamonds in the rough, right? Uncut diamonds. Because even if you get an uncut diamond, you may not be able to see evaluate the value of that uncut diamond. The diamond gets its shine only after it is cut and polished properly. So this is what my mission is here to do. So now, as I said, celebrate past achievements. The middle picture is, all these pictures are taken from the Perimeter Institute of Canada, one of the premier research institute. So the middle picture is of Biva Chaudhary. How many of us even know about her name, Biva Chaudhary? She is a post-independence scientist in India, physicist, and she has done 2 Nobel Prize winning work in her lifetime. And yet we don't know her, yet we don't celebrate her. and she hasn't got any award in her lifetime, no Bhatnagar award, nothing. And only recently, a few people after the West rediscovered her, India started to celebrate some of her successes, but not still. We need to do that. This is Dr. Subhas Mukhopadhyay. Many of you know his name. A pioneer in vitro fertilization or test tube baby. He was not supported. He never got any award, but he could have gotten the Nobel Prize because the first test tube baby he created, Durga, was only after 6 months after the first test tube baby was born in the UK. So Shambhunath De, we don't know, many of us don't even know his name. He is the discoverer of, he was the pioneering researcher on cholera toxins, and ORS was developed based on his research. His name was recommended to the Nobel Committee 3 times. We don't even know his name. How many of these great scientists' name we know or we celebrate? And last but not the least, Professor Prafulla Chandra Ray, father of chemistry in India. Not only father of chemistry in India, I believe India should follow his vision. Bold and simple, clear and simple, that the research and economy are connected. It has to be connected for a developing nation like us. And he was not just a researcher, he was a revolutionary thinker at that time, and still he is equally relevant. His formation of Bengal Chemical and other manufacturing units. So that should be the model of India. That yes, there should be knowledge for knowledge sake studies. Knowledge is the ultimate truth, and then there should be a focus on knowledge for society, right? So these are the critical elements that we need to do. We need to do the leadership building. We need to do critical thinking. We need to do the self-efficacy promotion, and we need to bring all these areas into our curriculum, into our education system. Then only India can become a leader, 21st century leader in innovation, and India can become a knowledge-based economy. So this is all what I need to say. Forgive my over enthusiasm. Thank you.